United States and South Korea agreed to look into ways of permanently deploying American strategic weapons on the Korean peninsula to counter North Korean threats. For the first time, President Park Geun-hye comments on corruption allegations involving the top office. She calls for a comprehensive investigation into the matter. And Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says he will accept the election results, but only if he wins. These and more coming right up.
Hello, it's Friday, October 21st here in Seoul. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. Our top story this morning, South Korea and the U.S. have agreed to look into the possibility of moving more U.S. strategic military assets to the south. Following their meeting in Washington on Thursday, the defense chiefs of the allies said the assets could be here permanently on a rotational basis to strengthen the South's defense against North Korea's growing threats. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
This year's security consultative meeting at the Pentagon focused on expanding the allies' extended deterrence to counter North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threats. Sitting down with South Korea's Defense Minister Han Min-koo, U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter said the U.S. will use the full spectrum of its defense capabilities to defend South Korea. He added that Washington is changing the structure of its forces on the peninsula to meet that end.
We're adapting our force structure on the peninsula, most recently by agreeing as allies to deploy THAAD to defend against North Korean missile threats. And that's why we're ensuring we remain ready to, as we say, fight tonight. And we're working together to achieve a conditions-based transfer of wartime operational control.
Mr. Han said the upgraded U.S. commitment offered by Secretary Carter will ensure South Korea can defeat any attack, including a potential nuclear attack by North Korea.
We discussed numerous measures of extended deterrence to better counter Pyongyang's nuclear and WMD threats. We're going to double our citizens' trust in extended deterrence.
The two defense chiefs are also considering the permanent deployment of U.S. strategic assets to the Korean peninsula on a rotational basis to strengthen extended deterrence against North Korea's threats. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
Shortly after the U.S. and South Korea wrapped up their previous round of high-level security talks in the U.S. Capitol, including the foreign chiefs as well, North Korea attempted to test-fire yet another ballistic missile. The launch, like the previous one last weekend, is known to have failed. For more on the North's possible intentions, Connie Kim reports.
Just 5 days after North Korea's failed missile launch last weekend, the regime has fired off another one, only to see it to end in failure. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said Thursday the North launched what is presumed to be an intermediate-range Musudan ballistic missile at around 7 a.m. local time near the northwestern city of Kusong, the same area from which it launched the last one. The military believes the launch was an attempt by the North to make up for its failure on Saturday. Seoul's foreign ministry has condemned Pyongyang's latest provocation.
Regardless of the success or failure of the missile launch, Pyongyang has clearly violated the UN Security Council's resolution. South Korea strongly condemns the launch as it's a serious threat to peace and security on the Korean peninsula and in the international community.
Pyongyang has so far tested the Musudan ballistic missile 8 times, with only the launch in June succeeding. But if the regime gets the missile operational, its range of some 3,500 kilometers would put the U.S. base on the Pacific island of Guam within striking distance. Thursday's launch came just hours after South Korea's foreign and defense ministers met with their U.S. counterparts in Washington to discuss ways to deal with North Korea's threats. While some experts say Thursday's launch was a warning to Seoul and Washington, there are also voices saying North Korea has a longer-term goal in mind.
Well, I think currently North Korea wants to successfully test its nuclear weapons and long-range missiles so that they can use it as a game changer to deal with the U.S. new government. So I think before the new government comes in the United States, I think North Korea wants to test it and succeed on it.
Hinting more provocations are on its way, North Korea's space agency said it'll continue to launch satellites into space. South Korea and the U.S. view such launches as covert tests of ballistic missile technology, while Pyongyang says its activities are purely for peaceful purposes. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
And the White House has responded to North Korea's repeated missile provocations by saying they underscore the need for tougher UN Security Council sanctions against the regime. Deputy spokesperson Eric Schultz made the comments to reporters Thursday while on board Air Force One. He said the U.S. condemns North Korea for blatantly violating UN resolutions that forbid the regime from using ballistic missile technology. He added that the North's defiant actions bolster the resolve of the international community to deal with Pyongyang. And President Park Geun-hye is urging her inner circle to beef up the nation's defense alliance against North Korean threats. Meeting her top aides on Thursday, she also offered her first official explanation for the latest allegations swirling around the top office. Song Ji-sun has the details.
President Park says North Korea is standing against humanity, history, and the civilization of mankind and cannot survive. She made her remarks at a regular meeting with her top aides Thursday, held in the shadow of North Korea's latest missile launch attempt. With security talks between South Korea and the United States underway in Washington, President Park said the allies must send a strong warning to Pyongyang as a new U.S. administration is set to take office in January.
확장 억제를 포함한 한미 동맹의 대북 억제 역량을 더욱 가시적이고 실효적으로 담보할 수 있도록 제도적 틀을 강화하고 내실을 다짐으로써 국민들이 한층 신뢰할 수 있도록 해 주기를 바랍니다.
President Park also addressed the recent controversies surrounding her longtime confidant Choi Soon-sil, who is facing corruption allegations related to two foundations. The two organizations raised a large amount of funds from conglomerates in a short period of time and took part in many cultural and sports events related to President Park's overseas trips. The president said participation and the funding from the corporate sector added momentum to our key policy initiatives on the creative economy and cultural prosperity.
이처럼 의미 있는 사업에 대해 의혹이 확산되고 도를 지나치게 인신 공격성 논란이 계속 이어진다면 문화 융성을 위한 기업들의 순수한 참여 의지에 찬물을 끼얹어 기업들도 더 이상 투자를 하지 않을 것이고 한류 문화 확산과 기업의 해외 진출에도 부정적인 영향을 미치게 될 것입니다.
President Park called for an end to the distrust and disputes and ordered a full and transparent investigation into the matter. She again stressed the need for national unity to counter outstanding crises as economic conditions are expected to get worse as uncertainties mount. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
As the race for the White House enters the home stretch, Donald Trump has clarified his position on his claims the election is rigged. Following up on remarks made during the final televised debate, the Republican candidate says he will accept the election outcome if he wins. However, speaking at a rally in Delaware, Ohio, Trump insisted that he will not surrender the right to contest the outcome if he thinks something fishy has gone on.
That I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win. But I would also reserve my right to contest or file a legal challenge in the case of a questionable result.
During Wednesday's final debate, Trump said, quote, unquote, I will look at it. At the time when asked if he would accept the election results, a remark that went viral, drawing alarm from both Republicans and Democrats.
And I can tell you,
the European Central Bank has left its stimulus policy unchanged, a widely expected move as inflation gradually picks up in the currency bloc. But ECB President Mario Draghi on Thursday did hint at more stimulus that could come in December. The ECB kept its benchmark refinancing rate steady at 0 and asset purchases at $88 billion a month. The purchases are due to end in March. With the deadline approaching, markets remained jittery over concerns the central bank might start to taper soon. Draghi said the ECB was waiting until its December meeting to address the issue and that it was unlikely the bond purchasing program would be wrapped up abruptly. More foreigners now have jobs in Korea than in years gone by. This is partly because of the rise in the number of foreign residents in the country. But when it comes to their employment rate compared to Koreans, it's a different story. Lee Ji-won explains.
There are more foreign nationals working in Korea this year, but their employment rate has fallen drastically. According to Statistics Korea, 960,000 of foreigners were employed in Korea as of May, among the 1.4 million foreigners ages 15 and over who live in the country and are eligible to work. That's an increase of 2.6% or about 25,000. Still, the rate of growth is much slower than in the past 2 years, when it was increasing by double digits, recording just over 10% in 2015. The agency attributes the sharp decline this year to a sluggish economy, slowing exports, and the government's ongoing corporate restructuring drive. For example, although more than 45% of foreign workers are employed in manufacturing, the industry only hired 1,000 people this year, as opposed to the 18,000 jobs added in 2015. That was followed by the retail and wholesale industries and the restaurant and accommodation business, which add up to nearly 20%, followed by private businesses and public services. Nearly 50% of foreign workers received a monthly income of between 1 and 2 million Korean won, or between 890 and 1,700 US dollars. Ethnic Koreans from China represented the largest proportion of foreign workers in the country, or 46%, followed by workers from Vietnam. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
With the number of North Korean defectors expected to top 30,000 by next month, Seoul is paving the way for unification of the two Koreas. For a closer look at the challenges faced by defectors and what South Koreans and the government can do to make the process easier, Oh Jung-hee reports.
The play Memories of Chagangdo Province illustrates the difficulties faced by North Korean defectors working as construction site workers and housemaids in the south.
북에서 왔다 그러면 금방 눈빛이 달라지고 수근수근거리는데 길에서 난 북에서 왔다는 거 말 안 하는데.
In this piece, we wanted to show what North Koreans experience when settling in South Korea and help people from the two Koreas better understand each other and overcome prejudice.
Since the mid-1990s, increasing numbers of North Koreans have defected to the south due to the communist state's economic difficulties. Next month, the total number of defectors is expected to top 30,000.
But beyond the numbers, how are North Korean defectors adapting to life in the South? To find that out, I'm here at a restaurant in Chungcheongnam-do Province, so come on in with me.
Greeting customers and cooking her best-loved dishes, this is Chang Yu-bin, who came to South Korea in 2009. She's become a recognized chef here, earning several certifications and participating in global cooking competitions. It was a tough journey for her, of course, moving from one restaurant to another and sometimes feeling fundamentally different from the people around her. But she says she's thankful for what she can do here. The outcome of settling in the South, she says, is what the defectors themselves make it.
What's great about living here is I can do whatever I want to do. People from the North are usually very conscious of the fact they're North Koreans, but that really doesn't help. They shouldn't be discouraged, and they need to accept reality. Adapting to life in the South is not something others can do for you. You have to do it yourself.
But not all North Koreans make successful landings in the South like her. Some suffer from severe discrimination by locals, and others take low-paying jobs when they find their career in the North doesn't transfer. Recently, South Korean President Park Geun-hye vowed to support them with all necessary measures. But are the country and the people ready?
The Hana Center's education programs, which every North Korean defector has to complete, can't satisfy everyone because they all have different backgrounds. So it's important to listen to their demands and reflect those in the programs. Of course, South Koreans will also have to be able to embrace their new compatriots.
The settling of North Koreans in the South is the beginning of harmonization between the two peoples. The changes ahead may require Koreans in the South and North to open up their hearts, and the government will have to back them up with policies of substantive support. 오정희, 아리랑 뉴스.
And that wraps it up for now. Thanks for watching. I'm Hwang Ji-hye, and I'll be back in less than 2 hours for more news updates. So do stay tuned, and goodbye for now.